This is a reading from the Diary of St. Gemma Galgani. Miraculous Cure, March 3rd, 1899. But the months passed, and I did not get any better. On the 4th of January, the doctors tried another remedy. They cauterized me in 12 places along the spine. That was enough. I began to grow worse. Besides the usual pains on January 28th, I began to suffer an unbearable headache. The doctor whom they called said that it was very dangerous, calling it a tumor of the brain. They could not operate because I was suffering from extreme weakness. I grew worse from day to day, and on the 2nd of February, they brought me holy viaticum. I made my confession, and I was waiting to go and be with Jesus. It seemed that it would be soon. The doctors, thinking that I was no longer conscious, said among themselves that I would not live until midnight. Live, Jesus! One of my teachers in school, of whom I have spoken above, came to see me and to tell me farewell, saying that she would see me in heaven. But nonetheless she begged me to make a novena to Blessed Margaret Mary Alacoque, assuring me that she would gain for me the grace of either being cured perfectly or else of entering heaven immediately after death. This teacher, before she would leave my bed, made me promise her to begin the novena that same evening. It was February 18th. I did begin it. That very evening I said the prayers for the first time. The next day I forgot them. On the 20th I began all over again, but once more I forgot to say the prayers. This was very poor attention to prayer, was it not, dear Father? On the 23rd I began for the third time, that is, I intended to. But a little before midnight I heard a rosary rattling, and I felt a hand resting on my forehead. I heard someone begin saying the Pater, Ave, and Gloria, and repeating them 9 times. I could hardly answer the prayers because my pain was so intense. Then that same voice that said the prayers asked me, "Do you want to be cured?" "It's all the same to me," I answered. "Yes," he said, "you will be cured. Pray with faith to the heart of Jesus. Every evening until the novena is finished, I will be here with you, and we will pray to the heart of Jesus together." "And Blessed Margaret Mary?" I asked. "You may add 3 Glorias in her honor." The same thing happened for 9 consecutive nights. The same person came every evening, placed his hand on my forehead, and we recited the prayers of the Sacred Heart. After which he had me add 3 Glorias in honor of Blessed Margaret Mary. It was the second to last day of the novena, and I wanted to receive communion on the last day, which was the first Friday of March. I sent for my confessor and went to confession. The next morning, I received communion. What happy moments I spent with Jesus. He kept repeating to me, "Gemma, do you want to be cured?" I was so moved that I could not answer. Poor Jesus. The grace had been given. I was cured. The tenderness of Jesus. "My daughter," Jesus said, embracing me, "I give myself entirely to you, and you will be entirely mine." I saw clearly that Jesus had taken my parents from me, and sometimes this made me discouraged, because I believed myself abandoned. That morning I complained to Jesus about this, and he always was so good and tender and said to me, "My daughter, I will always be with you. I will be your father, and she," indicating our mother of sorrows, "will be your mother. He who is my hands can never lack fatherly help. You will never lack anything, even though I have taken away from you all earthly consolation and support. Come, draw near to me. You are my daughter. Are you not happy to be the daughter of Jesus and Mary?" The overwhelming affection to which Jesus gave rise in my heart kept me from answering. After about 2 hours had passed, I arose. Those in the house wept for joy. I too was happy, not because I was cured, but because Jesus had chosen me to be his daughter. Before leaving me that morning, Jesus said to me, "To the grace that has been given you this morning, there will be added many more and greater ones." And this has been so true because Jesus has always protected me in a special way. I have treated him only with coldness and indifference, and in exchange, he has given me only signs of infinite love, hunger for the Eucharist. From that time on, I could hardly bear not to receive Jesus every morning, but I was not able to do so. I had the permission of my confessor to do so, but I was so weak that I could hardly stand on my feet. On the 2nd Friday of March, 1899, I went to church for the first time to receive Holy Communion, and from then until now, I have continued to go every day. I missed only now and then because my great sin made me unworthy, or as a chastisement imposed on me by my confessor. With the Visitandine sisters. The same morning, the second Friday of March, the Visitandine sisters wanted to see me. I went to see them, and they promised me that in May I could come to them and make a course of spiritual exercises. Furthermore, they told me that if my desire proved to be a true vocation, they would take me into the convent in June for good. I felt great contentment in the thought of this, especially since Monsignor was in perfect accord with the idea. Holy Week of 1899. The month of March passed with me receiving communion every morning, and Jesus was filling me with unspeakable consolations. Then came Holy Week. I wanted so much to attend the sacred functions, but Jesus had arranged otherwise. During that Holy Week, he asked of me a great sacrifice. Wednesday of Holy Week came. No sign had been given except that when I received communion, Jesus made himself felt in a most wonderful manner. Her guardian angel as master and guide. From the moment when I got up from my sick bed, my guardian angel began to be my master and guide. He corrected me every time I did something wrong, and he taught me to speak but little and only when I was spoken to. One day, when those in the house were speaking of some person and were not speaking very well of her, I wanted to speak up, but the angel gave me a severe rebuke. He taught me to keep my eyes cast down, and one time in church he reproved me strongly, saying to me, "Is this the way to conduct yourself in the presence of God?" And another time he chided me in this way, "If you are not good, I will not let you see me any more." He taught me many times how to act in the presence of God, that is, to adore him in his infinite goodness, his infinite majesty, his mercy, and in all his attributes. First Holy Hour, Jesus crucified. As I said before, we were in Holy Week. It was Wednesday. My confessor had finally decided that it would be well for me to make a general confession, as I had desired for so long a time. He chose a late hour on Wednesday for me to do this. In his infinite mercy, Jesus gave me a very deep sorrow for my sins, and here is how it came about. On Thursday evening, I began to make the Holy Hour. I had promised the Sacred Heart that if I were cured, I would make the Holy Hour every Thursday without fail. This was the first time I had made it out of bed. I had made it on the preceding Thursday, but in bed, because my confessor would not let me make it any other way on account of my extreme weakness. But from the time of my general confession, he permitted me to make it out of bed. I began, therefore, to make the Holy Hour, but I felt myself so full of sorrow for my sins that it was a time of continual martyrdom. However, in the midst of this sorrow, there was one comfort, namely, weeping. This was both a comfort and a relief to me. I spent the entire hour praying and weeping. Finally, being very tired, I sat down, but the sorrow continued. I became entirely recollected, and after a little bit, all of a sudden, I felt my strength fail. It was only with great difficulty that I was able to get up and lock the door to the room. Where was I? Dear Father, I found myself before Jesus crucified. He was bleeding all over. I lowered my eyes, and the sight filled me with pain. I made the sign of the cross, and immediately my anguish was succeeded by peace of soul. I continued to feel an even stronger sorrow for my sins, and I had not the courage to raise my eyes and look at Jesus. I prostrated myself on the floor and remained there for several hours. "My daughter," he said, "behold these wounds. They have all been opened for your sins. But now be consoled, for they have all been closed by your sorrow. Do not offend me any more. Love me as I have always loved you. Love me." This he repeated several times. The vision vanished, and I returned to my senses. From that time on, I began to have a great horror for sin, which was the greatest grace Jesus has given me. The wounds of Jesus remained so vividly impressed in my mind that they have never been effaced. Good Friday, March 31st, 1899. On the morning of Good Friday, I received Holy Communion, and I would have liked to have gone to the service that day in honor of the agony. But my family would not permit it, even though I wept. With great difficulty, I made this first sacrifice to Jesus, and Jesus, always so generous, saw fit to reward me. even though I made the sacrifice with much difficulty. I shut myself in my room, therefore, to make the hour of the agony alone. But I was not alone. My guardian angel came to me, and we prayed together. We assisted Jesus in all his sufferings and compassionated our mother in her sorrows. But my angel did not fail to give me a gentle rebuke, telling me that I should not cry when I had to make a sacrifice to Jesus, but that I should rather thank those who offered me the occasion to do so. This was the first time, and also the first Friday on which Jesus made himself felt so strongly in my soul. And although I did not receive communion from the hands of a priest, because it was impossible, Jesus nevertheless came himself and communicated himself to me. And this union with him was so overwhelming that I remained as if stupefied. Jesus spoke very strongly to me. "What are you doing?" he said to me. "What have you to say? Aren't you ever moved at all?" Then it was that, not being able to resist any longer, I blurted out, "Oh Jesus, how is it that you who are most perfect and all holy choose one so full of coldness and imperfection to love?" He answered, "I am burning with desire to unite myself with you. Hasten to receive me every morning, but remember that I am a father and a zealous spouse. Will you be my daughter and my faithful spouse?" I made 1,000 promises to Jesus that morning, but my God, how soon I forgot them. I always felt a horror for sin, but at the same time, I was always committing it. And Jesus was not satisfied with me, though he ever consoled me, sending my guardian angel to be my guide in everything. After these things happened to me, I felt that I should speak to my confessor about them. I went to confession, but I did not have the courage. I left the confessional without saying anything about it. I returned home, and on entering my room, I noticed that my angel was weeping. I didn't have the courage to ask him what he was crying about, but he himself told me, "Do you want to be deprived of seeing me anymore? You are a bad girl. You are hiding things from your confessor. Remember this, and I'm telling you for the last time. If you ever hide anything else from your confessor, I will never let you see me anymore. Never, never." I fell to my knees, and he told me to make an act of contrition and made me promise to reveal everything to my confessor. With this, he pardoned me in the name of Jesus. A severe reproof from Jesus. The month of April had arrived. I was impatiently awaiting the time when I could go to the Visitandine sisters to make a retreat, as they had promised me. It was one morning after communion, Jesus told me about something that had displeased him very much. I had committed the fault the evening before. 2 young girls who were friends of one of my sisters used to come to our house, and though their conversation was not bad, it was worldly. This time, I took part in the conversation, adding my little bit like the others. But the next morning, Jesus rebuked me so severely that it inspired in me a great terror, and I would have desired never to see or speak to anyone else. Nevertheless, Jesus continued to make himself felt in my soul every day, filling me with consolation. And I, on the other hand, continued to turn my back to him and offend him without any sorrow. Thirst for love and suffering. 2 sentiments were engendered in my heart after the first time Jesus made himself felt and allowed me to see him covered with blood. The first was to love him even to the point of sacrifice. But since I did not know how to love him truly, I asked my confessor to teach me, and he answered as follows: "How do we learn to read and write? We practice reading and writing over and over until we finally learn how." This answer did not convince me. In fact, I didn't know what he meant. Often I asked him the same question, but he always gave me the same answer. The other sentiment that sprang up in my heart after having seen Jesus was a desire to suffer something for him. Seeing that he had suffered so much for me, I got myself a thick rope that I took secretly from the well, made several knots in it, and put it around my body. But I didn't have it on a quarter of an hour before my guardian angel reproved me and made me take it off, because I had not asked my confessor's permission and obtained it. But my great affliction was not being able to love Jesus as I wished. I tried eagerly not to offend him, but my bad inclination to evil was so strong that without a special grace of God, I would have fallen into hell.